Dark Lane Demo Tapes is the latest mixtape from hip-hop behemoth Drake, and it serves as his first full-length commercial release since 2018's Scorpion. Drake is someone who releases pretty consistently in terms of full bodies of work, so having to wait this long for a full body of music from Drake has been somewhat of an anomaly. On the musical side of things, the past 12 months have been relatively quiet for Drake by Drake standards, but they've still been a lucrative and successful period for him. Mid last year, he dropped the Best in the World pack with Money in the Grave and Omerta, and Money in the Grave scored him yet another top 10 hit on the Billboard charts. Shortly after this, he dropped his Care Package compilation album. I think it was like a month or two after he dropped the Best in the World pack, and it featured a slew of unreleased singles or singles that were just available on YouTube. Songs like Dreams Money Can Buy, Club Paradise, Free Spirit, 4pm in Calabasas, 5pm in Toronto, etc, etc, etc. Loads of songs that Drake fans, myself included, have been eagerly anticipating to arrive on streaming services. I think personally it's always kind of like a fun guessing game to guess what kind of version of Drake we're going to hear on the next project. And what turned out to be the lead single from Dark Lane Demo Tapes was Tootsie Slide, which dropped I think a month or two ago, and again that ended up scoring Drake another #1 single. Unfortunately for me, this felt like one of the few times that Drake was chasing a trend rather than setting trends that he is known for. He was successfully capitalizing on the TikTok worthy nature of the song and the easy accompanying dance move. Now, I don't really think that Tootsie Slide is the worst thing in the world. I don't think it's one of the worst things Drake has dropped, but I think it's kind of devoid of the character and the wit that makes Drake's music so addictive and enjoyable. Now, I think if Tootsie Slide was going to be an indicator of Drake's next full-length project, it didn't really bode well, but fortunately, I'm glad to say that Tootsie Slide on Dark Lane Demo Tapes kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. Most, and I say stress on most of the songs on Dark Lane Demo Tapes are kind of drenched in the woozy, slow, ambient sounds that Drake made his name for in the earlier part of the last decade. Just like projects like So Far Gone and Take Care, Dark Lane Demo Tapes is characterized by moody, kind of ambient instrumentals and songs that have kind of like an R&B sensibility to them. The opening song, Deep Pockets, is kind of vintage Drake. He's portrayed as like the lone king in his castle, frustrated by the fact that he's not receiving the credit for the things and the trends that he has set. Another thing about this song, and I think it's a theme that runs throughout most of this mixtape, is that it's a deeply, deeply paranoid version of Drake, and he comes across as like a genuinely lonely person. I think it's quite similar in its lyrical content and aesthetic style to the opening song on Scorpion, which was Survival. And of course, being a very keen observer of what trends and what doesn't trend, Drake doesn't just stick to one lane on this project. He dips his toe in a variety of genres, which is apparent by the last two songs on this project, which are both full-on drill tracks. I think that War somewhat kind of falls flat as a mixtape or an album closer, especially when it comes directly after Demons, which in my opinion is a far superior attempt at a full-on drill song. It's got this kind of monstrous, scary beat, and a couple of colourful appearances from drill artists 5EO Foreign and Sosa Geek. With Drake being Drake, there's always going to be a handful of songs about his longing for a past relationship and him lamenting about past failed relationships, and I think the song Chicago Freestyle is the clearest example of this on Dark Lane Demo Tapes. Assisted by an extremely soulful appearance from singer Giveon, and also a clever interpolation of the old Eminem song Superman, Drake continues to detail his failed relationships and extreme paranoia that are either the result or the cause of said failed relationships. I think it's a track that, more so out of any other track on this album, wouldn't feel out of place on a project like Take Care. By far and away, if you've been on Twitter or Instagram in the past couple of weeks, the most anticipated song on this project was Pain 1993 featuring Playboi Carti. Drake and Playboi Carti team up for their first ever collaboration as far as I'm aware. whilst I think it's a perfectly serviceable song, but I can't help but feel, as much as it pains me to say because I'm a fan of both of these artists, it's kind of an awkward-ish partnership. I mean, their styles are so wildly different, and that's not inherently a bad thing when you're trying to go for a sound where you're contrasting two very very different elements. But for me, it comes off a bit clunky and somewhat misguided. Now, the song D4L with Future and Young Thug is my personal standout on this project. Southside provides a brutally ruthless and relentless beat for the three rappers to just deliver bar after bar after bar non-stop for pretty much the duration of the song. When you have a beat that is this strong and this monstrous, it's hard not to sound amazing on a beat like this, even if you're spitting the shittest bars in the world. But thankfully, all three rappers are on relative top form on this song. Young Thug provides his usually entertaining, cartoonish, animated, squawky vocals. Future comes through with quite an infectious flow, and Drake provides a short but very, very sweet verse. Now, of course, it's been well documented that Drake does work well with Future and he does work well with Young Thug, but bringing all three of those together on one song is a whole different kettle of fish. The song Losses is where Drake goes full on Drake and he dives completely into his feels. Once again, he is continuously preoccupied by past failed relationships, and he also touches existentially on his position in the rap game and his position as a major celebrity. And I think that sentiment is punctuated by the bar where Drake says, "I'm not trying to make no song, these are cold facts." I think this is kind of a tried and tested formula for a Drake song that is very hard to fail with. It's kind of in the mold of old Drake songs like Look What You've Done and Lose You and Is There More, just to name a few. It's kind of like a mid-tempo, ambient, soulful instrumental with Drake just bearing his emotional soul over. It's not something that's new for Drake. It's not something that we haven't heard before, but it's still relatively engrossing. Whilst I'm of the opinion that this is a mostly entertaining and engaging project, there are still a couple of moments that fall flat for me. The song Not You Too, which is a collaboration with Chris Brown, is a kind of slow, woozy, repetitive love song, and surprisingly without much character brought to the table by either Drake or Chris Brown. For me, the most interesting part of this song is where, I think it's exactly halfway through, the beat kind of switches, it's kind of a beat switch, and these kind of like watery, swelling synths come in to break up the monotony of the song. And of course, this project is very, very explicitly marketed as a mixtape made up of leaked songs and snippets, etc., etc., etc. So I think this project must be looked at through that particular lens. Even taking that into account, I still think Dark Lane demo tapes is a clear indicator that, one, Drake has a very, very, very undeniable ear for trends, and two, that his work ethic is kind of unmatched. Even his relative throwaway songs are entertaining enough. It is marketed as a mixtape a la More Life, but this is very different from that project. This is much more concise than More Life, but also much more unpolished than More Life. I think it lends itself stylistically and lyrically more to older Drake projects like So Far Gone and Take Care. It's very, very moody, it's low-key for the most part, and it's quite dark, even down to the kind of dark, lo-fi album cover. But because this is Drake, even if he's making that kind of music, it's still going to be a massive commercial success. It will probably debut at number one. Again, it shows how much pull that Drake has in the music industry, that even dropping semi-decent material that's nowhere near his best, it's still a massive, massive commercial success. What I find kind of strange is that Dark Lane Demo Tapes is a strangely timely project, if you can call it that. And I don't think this is because of any explicit reason, but I think it's because of its preoccupation with themes of loneliness and alienation and paranoia. And for obvious reasons, these are all themes that we have become far too accustomed with over the past couple of months. All in all, I would say I'm satisfied by this project. Again, it's, this isn't the best thing Drake has dropped. It's not the best thing he's ever going to drop, but it's still, there's some couple of very, very strong standout tracks for me, and this is going to tide me over to up until the release of his 6th studio album that he has announced, which should be coming later this summer, I believe. Hopefully by then I'll be able to hear the album outside the confines of these 4 walls. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe and dong the bell, and I will see you next time.